back to the Bar Stewards Inquiry in association with systembet.co.uk. I'm Catherine Fry, and joining me as always are Lee Keys of SystemBet and John Leng of John Joe's Blogspot on Facebook. Today we're going to be looking at the big weekend ahead of Christmas. We're going to be looking at Ascot and Haydock. Before we do, we've just got a couple of questions from some of our listeners on Twitter. First question from Lorne Marvo. Thanks for this question. On the occasions that a long losing run occurs, do the panel typically continue or reduce by some factor? Lee, I'll go to you first.
Well, I mean, everyone has a limited tank, so if you're sort of running low on funds, or if the run has taken you beyond the twilight zone, you just have to bet accordingly. It's like everything else. You
cut your cloth accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. There's sometimes when you feel like you can attack when things are going well, and there's times when you look at what's left in the bank and you just have to. Yeah, it's simply that's how it is.
Yeah. And John.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go along with that. My biggest problem is stepping on when I'm doing well, to be honest.
Yeah.
Lee's a master of it, pressing up. Not anywhere near as good. I go coasting along at my own pace, and there's times when I know I should be pressing up and I don't. And it's the old saying, isn't it? Frightened money wins and out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, I would say I'm pretty much the same as I have for sort of a pot. And if the pot goes, that's it. Tough luck, really, and just have to sort of bide your time for a bit. Because I think we were having a discussion the other week, and it was like, well, the good times will come again. You just kind of have to roll through it. I don't sort of really view a race any differently, because I think if you start to sort of change what you normally do, then it's like you're panicking. But yeah, I just sit still and wait for it to roll again. But probably one of the things I am guilty of, if I am on a good run, I'm just like, you get a bit excited then, don't you, and start charging at everything. So more discipline is needed there for me, definitely. But no, thanks for that question. Question here from Carl Swanson on Twitter. Which horse has been your proverbial cliff horse? The one horse that you always think today's the day, but never is. John?
Yes. Thankfully, this thing only ran 6 times. Otherwise, I'd probably be living in Mumbai now and I'd throw out the bedroom windows. If you cast your minds back and come with me back to the autumn of 1989,
okay.
I was fairly involved at Freemason Lodge back in those days, and they had a good 2-year-old called Creed Danzig, and it looked like it was going to head for something like the Somerville Tattersall, rated about 100. And it did a piece of work with this horse called Mazag. That was one of the most beautiful looking things I've ever set eyes on. It ticked all the boxes for me. Hard bear with black points, wide across the forehead, perfect looking horse. And this thing thumped Guy Danzig in a piece of work, and it hadn't even run. And it went to the ledger meeting to run in, I can even remember the title of the race, it was the Queen's Own Yorkshire Dragoons Maiden. And Henry Cecil had a horse in it that nobody would ever have heard of, called Sherian. That was the 11 to 10 favourite, and this was a very heavily backed 11 to 8 second favourite, very heavily backed from this quarter as well. And the two of them proceeded to knock spots off each other from about 3.5 out because they tried to make all. And Dean McEwen came through with a wet sail on a horse of Billy Watts's called Message Pad. It was subsequently rated in the hundreds to sweep by the pair of them. And then I thought, well, he's shown promise, and Michael could get Pegasus beat first time out anyway, so we goes to Newmarket in October of that year. And this time, it's going to be easy. He's had a run and there's no problem. His work's still been exceptional. And he's 13 to 8 this time, so we're getting a couple of ticks bigger. And he ran into Muckdam. Subsequently rated 100 nod. and he was third. And that was it for him for the season. And then in the spring, he came out at the Craven meeting. Now, the horses were a little bit behind, but just in case, because I knew he was good, I had a little bit on at 9-4 in the maiden. He ran 7th in, beaten by Lord Flory and a few others, again, subsequently rated 100. But there was going to be no excuse the fourth time, because he was going to Lingfield, and it was an average-looking Lingfield maiden. There was no problem whatsoever, other than the fact that there was 20 runners and Wally missed the kick. Jawab, subsequently rated over 100, made all and made the most of the track bias down the stands rails. So it was a fussy event in them days. But we couldn't believe our luck, really, because we only got a mark of 86, which meant he was going to shit up in the Britannia. Trouble was, Wally couldn't do the weight. He only carried about 7.7, I think. And Paul Edry got the ride. Anyway, he ran fairly well. He was 13th of 26 after going off 7-1. We then started to think he wasn't possibly putting it all in. And the final throw of the dice was at Windsor, over a mile. And it's the only time I've ever seen Wally lose his rag with a horse. He travelled well up to the toe pole and then just did not want to know whether it was the first time riser or what, I don't know. But he dropped the shopping and Wally dropped a ton of bricks on him, and that was it. But dear God, what an expensive horse that was.
Good story, John. Lee, have you got one?
Yeah, and it's probably one in more recent times, and many National Hunt fans will sort of like really sort of reminisce about this. Thomas Crapper.
Oh, yeah.
Robin Dickin and I mean Charlie Poss. I mean, we used to just laugh because we'd be sat sort of playing and running, doing whatever, most Cheltenham festivals, while most people are having good times at the course, we'd be working. But Thomas Crapper, you know, good old 10 wide Charlie, you know, he'd be the widest of all, giving away 20 lengths every sort of festival meeting. It's this year, Charlie's year, this year. And then Irish Cavalier did him in 2015, you know, basically powering up the hill and did him. And we all said, if only Charlie had the balls to sort of ride a proper race, as in sit nice and tight, closer to the inside, just save the ground. You know, it could have been different, but Charlie, for some reason, he'd lost his bottle 25 years ago, and that was it. It was 8 wide Charlie, and poor Thomas Crapper, the biggest sufferer of all, I think, at many a Cheltenham festival.
Yeah, I remember watching plenty of those particular races. Mine's a bit more recent as well. Was a Irish handicap hurdler called Glam Jerry, and I followed him pretty much over a cliff, and I thought that he was a really good thing for the Great Wood in 2012, and subsequently had a little bit on, and finished like all good each way bets. He finished 4th, and there's only terms for 3 places. So yeah, he would be. I think I learnt my lesson with Glam Jerry. That was a very expensive run. I think he just basically, if I can remember rightly, he finished 4th in an awful lot of handicap hurdles. So fond memories of good old Glam Jerry. We'll move on to Ascot. The long walk. I always remember watching this in a betting shop in Leeds, where when Principal won, would that have been 98? Would that have been? Christmas shopping in Leeds, watching that in a betting shop. That's my abiding memory of the Saturday before Christmas. Lee, any strong fancies at Ascot?
Interesting card. A very competitive card. Going back to the long walk, I mean, obviously, fond memories for me would be Barracuda picking up Dino's Beano back in the day. You know, when Dino's Beano used to go 600 miles an hour and 3 hurdles clear, and then Barracuda would pick him up in the last sort of, 200 yards.
Really on.
Yeah. The long walk for me this year, I think, is a cracking renewal. Fair play. You've got some absolute class acts here: Paisley Park, Time Hill, and the sort of, the outside the box main fact, which I think it sets up for a fascinating race. And the way I've read this is that for me, Time Hill will win the race. And I think Time Hill will win.
Despite his penalty.
Yes. I think Time Hill will win the race. And I think the reason being is that if you watch Main Fact, clever horse this, he seems to just know where the winning post is. I know that's like an old cliche, but obviously the horse is sort of hard ridden miles out. In every race he runs in, he's just going nowhere. Then he manages to find the right stride late to get up and win his races, which I think it's admirable. It's a wonderful sight to watch. Sort of 9 wins on the bounce, But the problem with Time Hill is that you've got a horse here that's uber tough, and if you do that against Time Hill will just find more and more and more and more, which he does every single race he runs it. And I just think conditions are ideal. It's a slugfest, and I do think Time Hill would be my strongest at Ascot that afternoon. But that's the long walk. Other races, Saint Devassie's interested in the 150. Tom Simon's horses are really flying, and you could see the difference in this horse compared to previous seasons on his reappearance. Really interesting. And I just thought a special mention as well for Regal Encore. Not necessarily that I just fancy the horse to win. It's just the fact it's kind of I want to win, just because he's one of the highest horses rated in training at 12 years old, 151. There's only Harry, that's rated that high, and his Ascot record's immense. So Regal Encore, just for sentimental reasons, is interesting also at Ascot that afternoon.
Yeah, when I looked at the long walk, I suddenly remembered and fished it out again. A note that I wrote on Stayers Hurdle Day at Cheltenham. I found that Paisley Park, I think his undoing at the festival was actually the pace. And like Apple's Jade went off in front, literally like she had a rocket up her backside. And that was to be her last run. And I was thinking all the way around, he can't come off a pace like this. Not a pace as hot as this. You knew Apple's Jade wasn't going to stop. She could stay 3 miles. She also had the pace for 2 miles. And I do think that was a sort of... It was a good bit of tactics, really, wasn't it, to take out the favourite at Cheltenham by doing that. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but it seemed to me that was his undoing. The long walk for me, again, I'm a massive Time Hill fan. For me, the only downside to this horse is the bloke on top of him.
Absolutely.
I think he got a dreadful ride. Like the Albert Bartlett was a real good race, and I think he got a dreadful ride in that. He really did. And I think that made the difference between getting beaten, winning. So, we could be looking at an Albert Bartlett winner here. The Albert Bartlett form, no surprise, is working out really well. I don't have a strong fancy in the race. I just find it impossible to back Time Hill as much as I just such a massive admirer of his, just because Decky's on it. I just can't do it. I think his confidence is absolutely shot to bits. I mean, those 2 falls at Cheltenham last weekend. Just what was that about? I saw someone tweet. I can't remember who it was. I liked the tweet. Someone said, Hobbs's schooling mornings must be absolute carnage. I thought that was really funny. I mean, Jesus Christ, he is terrible these days. He really is.
He's got an uncanny knack of and I did the stats on this. He's not the worst, but he's up there, and he's got an uncanny knack of basically decking horses. Hence his nickname Decky. Which well known in circles. It's uncanny the amount of time, and I mean we'll joke privately, won't we, by text, and we'll just say he's done it again. Yeah. Here he goes again. I mean, it's uncanny. He gets to the third or second last, and whether he can't find a stride, I don't know what it is with him, but terrible.
It's I mean, it is one of the great mysteries of the world how he has been champion jockey and how he was second to McCoy all those years.
It was that thing he won on today.
Oh yeah, didn't he?
The jump at the last.
Yeah,
I mean, you got a better jump out of Miriam Margolyes, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's incredible. It really is. And I know we're going to get the how many winners have you ridden? None. And I'm absolutely shit on the back of a horse. But I'm not a professional sportswoman, so fine. I know it's easy to sit in your armchair and criticise, but to me, it just seems that he's losing it a little bit. My fancy's at Ascot. I really fancy Dashel Drasher in the 1:15, second run back after a wind up. Won at Ascot previously. I think you can excuse the run at Haydock last time when he was falling out the back of the TV. The ground was practically unraceable, and to be honest with you, just excuse any horse a bad performance of that absolute hellhole. Really, the ground, everything at Haydock is just wrong with that place, and it's a real shame. He's one on soft, he's one on heavy, so I think he's my bet in the 1:15. I like Drumcliff, Christmas winner for Harry Fry's going to want to give his sister-in-law a winner for Christmas. Anya O'Connor coming over to ride Drumcliff in the 1:50. And in the Betfair Exchange, quite like winner at Price, Kid Commando, listed winner Ascot last time out. Again, he was beaten on desperate ground at Haydock on the same day that Dashel Drasher was beaten. I'm not going to worry about that again. 16-1, the Anthony Honeyball stable. That's actually my bet of the weekend.
Catherine,
yes?
What did you think to Ari Verderci in that race?
In the
Betfair Exchange, the one that fell at Haydock, John Joe O'Neill.
Oh yeah. Let me just get my notes up.
It sort of beat Warlord at Weatherby. Quite comprehensively, I felt.
Yeah.
Under Jonathan Burke, Shang Tang was in third. The form just had a very solid look to it.
Yeah.
And then at Haydock,
was going well when he fell.
He was trading around just a shade of odds on
at
the time, and everyone sort of thought. I mean, I was talking to a few other colleagues, and we all said this had definitely won. We all felt this would have gone on to win rather comfortably. So
yeah. It was quite a horrible fall, wasn't it?
Yeah, that kind of, and tongue tie goes on for the first time.
Yeah.
Don't know why that is, but yeah, I just again, I mean, it's probably a bit obvious, but I just felt.
Yeah, of course, it has to, on all that has to come into the reckoning. I was just because at the time I remember thinking, Christ, I hope they're okay because it was a really bad fall, and John Joe Jr. stayed down for a bit. I always worry about backing a horse off the back of a really bad fall. First time tongue tie. He went off favourite for that race at Haydock, didn't he? In the end,
he did, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to put anybody off him. For me, I just worry about a heavy fall last time out and what that's sort of done to them psychologically. But I'm not going to. The way he was travelling at Haydock and through that, I mean, it was like a bloody pond, wasn't it? It was the ground was just absolutely horrendous. So I don't think the ground at Ascot's going to hold any worries for him. Yeah. John, what are your thoughts on Ascot tomorrow?
Well, at first, when I had a look and saw that we had Ascot and Haydock on a Saturday and it was going to be muddy, I thought to myself, well, I'm going to be snorting 3 or 4 lines of strawberry Nesquik just to even face the prospect of going through the cards. Then I got surprisingly sucked into it. And, well, I've actually already had a bet at Ascot, and I've advised my blog spotters to do the same.
Yes, I know what this is.
We were all over Harambe last night. It runs in the 3:35. I felt this was going as well as anything when it fell.
Yeah.
I know there is a theory about don't back horses after the crashing fall last time. But did think 16-1 was a typo.
Okay.
Well, I've got to get involved here, despite the sickening run I've been having. I'm not particularly wanting to have a bet before Boxing Day. I thought I'm going to have to do something. I ended up having another bet today as well. So yeah, I backed that. I thought at 3 o'clock it was hard to crab the conditional, but I did think Ardlethan might get a bit closer than Yeobury. I don't think it was in the best advantage that day.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of money for Ardlethan, hasn't there? Because I've backed Ardlethan before and thought that he might have possibly been not off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see that there has been a little bit of money for him tomorrow, which kind of makes me think, tomorrow the day.
The long walk, I wouldn't be having a bet. I did think Roxana wasn't out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With the allowance and on the clock, really. I just think, it'll be on the premises. The 150, I kind of like for it. I'm still sort of bolting around in my head. I like Saint Devassi, French bred war wagon will go in the ground, won't it? Smarty Wild would be dangerous with a clear round, but, there's reasons to not expect a clear round. Henriksen, first go on proper heavy since his last win. German Panzer, this one, so they back the German Panzer to roll over the French war wagon. Or do you back Gardfort, who was dropped like the proverbial stone for a few power runs, and some of them were a little bit debatable, shall we say.
Okay.
Well-treated multiple heavy ground winner for the Winsome one, it's Venetia, who doesn't have a bad record at Ascot in Cloudsvale conditions.
Yep.
She keeps popping up on these Saturdays when, a lot of people think she's handed a licence in after she's another winner for the spring month.
Yeah, it's just the way she operates, isn't it?
Yeah, she used to call it streaky, didn't they? Now they call it winsome. Win some, lose some. Morning Spirit in the 1240, been quite progressive going up in trip as well, I thought. Held up last time, probably a disadvantage. Handles the ground joint, second best on clock, possibly okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that was about my take on the Ascot card, really.
Okay, I know that you two have looked at the Haydock card as well and fancy a couple there. Lee, your take on Haydock? Wow, 11:50 start. Blimey.
Yeah, forget the 11:50. We're all sort of eating bacon sandwiches and doing our own thing at that time. 11:50, it's terrible.
Still in the shower at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. I've two interests at Haydock. One's pretty boring, but one's like pretty okay, I think. 205 Haydock, McGowan's Pass.
Okay.
Big Sandy Thompson. Love the fella, to be honest. Everyone loves Big Sandy.
Is he big? I don't think I've ever seen him.
Well, I always say Big Sandy. It sounds good, doesn't it? It's like Big Sam. All the punters said Big Sam, Big Sandy. It sounds good. But yeah, McGowan's Pass, I thought was a cracking each way bet there, because if you look at his form, he was second to the Con Man 3 starts ago. Lakeview Lad was in third. The Con Man's gone in again since. He was then second to Main Fact at Weatherby and Main Fact was off 123. Well, he's not going to win that. And in the third horse was Phlegmatic of Dan Skelton's. Again, it's quite solid form. And last time out, second to the Goobinator, which I like Goobinator over the minimum trip. I think he's a very useful animal. And I think that form's really strong. And there are a few question marks about runners in here. And I felt McGowan's Pass had outstanding claims in this. So he was because, for example, Warlord, they've got 3-1 favourite. He took £12 from when he raced against Ari Verderci at Weatherby.
Yep.
Up £7 for winning at Haydock. And I just felt that was going to put him quite vulnerable with Puppy Power on board. You know, we need some WrestleMania to get the
yeah.
Gowans pass home, I think. And I thought that was a fantastic each at the 205. If you want a banker of the day, and this is the way I play the game sometimes, people say, well, how do you bet in big handicaps? How do you bet in, you know, where it seems unfathomable? Well, if you go through the runners, I think you can rule sort of 2/3 out of most fields. And the Tommy Whittle, for example, the 240, I'm astonished if the winner isn't Hill 16 or Sir John. Hill 16 on the trainer change to Nigel Swisson Davis this season from the Corpse Sue Smith yard. You know, absolutely dead as a dodo, that yard, and it's done, finished. And this horse has looked absolutely different gear since that switch. And he could be anything. He could be anything. He could be 150 plus. This guy, he's massive. Jumps fences for fun. Hill 16 demolished them at Foss Lass. It was embarrassing. And Sir John as well. Demolished them at Carlisle. Second to Dominateur at Chepstow last season. Dominateur was off 127 that day. Now Dominateur, as we know, is 140 plus. Sir John very well in. But Hill 16 and Sir John, if you can get even money to 5-4 the pair to win the Tommy Whittle, would you back the rest at even money? I mean, absolute corpses, the rest in the race. If you look, they're all exposed mins. Highest Son, Colin Tizard, dead yard. Encard, Richard Newland, Lord Napier, Bowen, dead yard. Roll Again won a bad race at Ludlow, Venetia Williams. Crick's Escape, Gillian Burnett, Salty Boy, Bridgewater's, 125, out of his class. Sam's Adventure, Brian Ellison, dead yard. Pop Rockstar, ungenuine. So basically, even money 5-4, Hill 16 and Sir John is for me. That's the bet of the day if you're playing it Q.
Okay, great stuff, Lee. See, Tegarek goes tomorrow at Haydock as well. Good old Tegarek, yeah.
He was funny at Cheltenham.
He was funny when he put his head over the rail. I was just like, nah, just going to have a look over here. John, Haydock, fancy it?
Well, yeah, unlike Lee, who will be rolling over and giving us an extra scratch at 11.50,
you are
above the green button. I'd be thinking, I think the run is fit myself. And last time out, it just looked as though it was stretching its stamina a bit. They're dropping it back in trip here. And we're getting all the usual accoutrements. We're getting the tongue-tied, the cheek pieces. There's more getting involved than a Lithuanian drug dealer. I think this can make all in this race. And I'm quite confident about this, actually, which is a bit worrying. So it's probably going to stinker. But yeah, I like that very much. Cornerstone lad would lap them in the Norwich chase. But it'll be about 28 to 1 on, I would have thought. Captain Moret is probably my best on the card there. I think it will see some fairly out of form rivals off. Ought to love the Kirkland provided soft slop as well. 205, I put a token selection in for the last day for the last day. Should do well off this mark, not much different to a winning chase mark, really. And another one that I thought will love a bit of Turkish slippage is labelled as Obo in the 3:15. It's absolutely crashed down the way. It could be dead, but I also had a brief look at Newcastle. I've seen worse cards. I once flopped a 3 of spades when a forward had given me 4 fours, but this is a bad card indeed. And I noticed Ben Haslam trains one to JP. Does anybody know how this came about? Did he collect 12 empty crisp packets or something?
I think he gets the kind of the finish jobs, doesn't he?
Did Pat train for him?
You guys would have more of a clue on that for me.
Big
I don't.
Haslam, as their farm used to call him. There was Big Sandy, there was Big Haslam, wasn't there, as well? Like,
Oh, big, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was my take on Kirky's little project.
Okay, excellent. So we'll move on to our patent. We are determined to get one up, aren't we? You know, let's face it, just determined.
Definitely we'll get one before the end of next year.
Okay, oh, that's good. Gives me a good time frame. So my best of the day is Kid Commando in the Betfair Exchange Hurdle at Ascot. John, what's yours?
At the filthy Haydock, Captain Moirette.
Okay, Lee?
And mine would be in the 205 Haydock, McGowan's Pass.
For Big Sandy.
For Big Sandy.
Okay, so you'll all be delighted to hear that we are going to be recording a Christmas special to cover all the racing over the festive period. We're going to be recording it on the 23rd, so, you know, when you're really bored of all the crap films that are on TV on Christmas Day and things like that.
And the other crap podcast. Yeah.
You can give us a listen. So we'd quite like it if you could give us. We're sort of going for some yearly prizes. So as we head towards the end of 2020, we want to know what is your non-jigger of the year, your bent. I think John wrote these questions. Your bent twat of the year and your and the biggest shithouse of the year. So that's non-jigger of the year, bent twat of the year, and the biggest shithouse of the year. If you could tweet us on @BarStewardsThe on Twitter, or do feel free to leave a comment on our Facebook page, or on John's Facebook page, on John Joe's Blogspot, or on the Bar Stewards Inquiry Facebook page. Let us know what you think, and we'll go through them, have a good chuckle, and we will read some out on air for our festive special. But for now, have a great weekend, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.